Welcome to Ranchcrest Resort. This is pool vacuum training session 1. As you see, the pool's been opened, but you've got dead algae, pollen, sticks, and other things that they didn't get out. So we're going to do 2 types of vacuuming today. The first is the electric vacuum. So this charger stays here, and this gets plugged in. You unscrew this cap, which is waterproof, and plug it in. When the green light comes on, that means it's fully charged. You're going to plug this in and tighten it, not all the way. So what this is, the switch runs off of this plug. So if you go all the way in, it turns it on. And if you turn it on and keep it above water for too long, it'll actually burn the motor out because it's water lubricated. Now, I'm going to use this tripod so I can use both hands. So bear with me here. It's going to be shaky. We're simply going to take one of our poles with these holes in the end. Pretty simple. You just slide this on and make sure it snaps in like that. We're going to turn the switch on and then get it into the water quickly. And you'll see some air bubbles. Let it sink slowly. The name of the game with all vacuuming is the slower the better. So I don't know how much you can see there, but you're just going to slowly push this along the bottom. Now you can probably not see in the video, but since this is the first vacuuming of the season, you don't actually want to use this that much. So you just let the water drain. When this is done, you just simply roll this cam. This comes off and you can invert this bag and wash it out with the water hose. The reason you don't want to use this early in the season or when you have an algae bloom is that it just has this mesh bag filter. So the algae particles, smaller particles, actually get through it. So when you have the sediment like you see here, you want to use the actual pump as the vacuum. During just the maintenance, like the day-to-day vacuuming, this is way more convenient. So use it for things like sticks, leaves, bugs, like these little things you see in here, but not for like this gray or green stuff. And if you have green stuff, you need to turn it gray before you start vacuuming out with the pump. Now, with vacuuming with the pump, this one's going to take a bit. We've got a hose that hangs here, so we're going to get this out. We have the vacuum head and 2 skimmer plates. This skimmer plate I put over here. I put a tennis ball on it because before I got what I'll show you later, the turtle, I needed that. So I'm actually going to turn the pump off to get set up for this. So the blue tape pump is off. I'm going to close this valve just so it doesn't lose pressure. That's the return valve, and we'll turn that back on when we start vacuuming. Let me get my skimmer plate. So we're going to isolate this skimmer over here so we get more pressure out of the skimmer that's closest to the pump. So we're going to simply pull this up. We're going to pull our skimmer basket, and this guy is called a turtle. We're going to close this valve. So what it does is it restricts the flow of water, and it just pulls against itself. So that will seal down. Now, the skimmer basket can go back in. The old way I used to do this, I'll just show you what this is for. This has a rubber seal, an O-ring, and you basically set it right down on top of the basket. So it pulls. If there's any pressure on it, that's kind of a secondary. Probably not necessary since I got the new turtle, but we do it anyways. The other skimmer plate is going to have the hose attached to it. So let me get the hose ready. I'm going to put you over here for a second. And hopefully you can see. We're going to detach this. Attach the vacuum head same way as we did the last vacuum. Just push in on these and let it snap in. We're gonna have a hose attached here, and the other end of the hose is gonna go in there. So let's do this. I find that it's much easier to go ahead and unwind your hose on the deck because you want all the twists out of it. So you can just grab an end and get all of these curls out so it's laying flat and straight. It'll make your life a lot easier. Okay. So our hose is laid out straight with no curves in it. What we're going to do now is grab one end of it. We're going to plug it on here firmly. Now, so our pole doesn't fall in and we have to get into a 50-degree pull, we're going to loosen this and pull us out some length. So we have a long pole. And what I found to work while you're getting everything else ready, put it right down between the ladder and point it at the floor drain, which is the big white grate in the middle of the deep end. Just push it all the way out there and very gently set it down because you don't want to stir up the sediment. And we did get a kink in it, so we're going to get this out. Okay, now we'll set up our skimmer plate on this side. Same as the other. Actually, it's not the same as the other. What we're going to do here is we want to maximize the flow of this one, not restrict the flow. So we're going to set the turtle out so we just have a straight shot to our pump. And we're going to take the chlorine tabs out so we're not restricting flow. And your filter basket goes in because if you catch anything big, you want that to go in. Next, a little bit of a cheat. We're going to turn the water on. Because this hose is full of air, we want to get it full of water and sink it. So we're going to get the hose in the water. The easiest way to get the hose full of water is with another hose full of water, not full of air. So we're simply going to take our water hose and put it in the end like this, and then hold this about waist level. And what you'll see is on that end, the hose will begin to sink. And you can hear this. Now we're full. So we'll simply take our hose out. Now, we're going to try to do this with one hand. Sorry, I don't have a cameraman today. All right, so we're going to take the skimmer plate and put it on this hose and very quickly invert it and set it down on top of the skimmer basket. So now we don't have air in the line. We've got water already in here, so when we start the pump, it won't cavitate. It'll actually draw water, not air. So in here, because we have dead algae floating on the bottom, we're actually going to vacuum to waste because this is the first time of the year and we don't want to clog our filter with all the dead algae that we saw on the bottom of the pool. So because we're going to waste, we turned off our return line so we have no water going back to the pool, and we kept our pressure in here. We're going to open this after we set our valve right. So you see here we're on filter, clockwise to the right. The next one is waste. So we're going to go to vacuum to waste. Then we're going to open our backwash or our waste line. So this puts water back into the pool, the return. Waste puts water out into the backyard. It's an open system, where if you're using this, it's a closed system. So we're going to open this up and we're going to turn our pump on. Now, what's happening, we're pulling water from the pool. You see the line move. It kind of takes on a life of its own. And if you don't have your pole rested here, it'll actually pull it into the pool. So when the line moves, that's good. That means you have suction. You want to come over here and check and make sure you can pull up on this, and it should be really firm, like it really has suction. So So now we know we're pumping water out of the pool into the front yard. And I don't know if you see right where my shadow is, there's a pretty big mess of algae. The key here is to move very, very slowly on this first one. Otherwise, you'll end up with really cloudy water because you're stirring up the sediment. What this is doing is just pulling water through the hose, bypassing the filter, and out into the yard. And I don't know if you can actually see, but it's doing a really good job. You should feel a little bit of suction. This is weighted, so it just kind of holds itself to the bottom. Most people try to go too quickly. When you're vacuuming the waste, it's good to be efficient because you're pumping water out of the pool. And you notice I left the water hose on. So while we're vacuuming the waste, we're always putting water back in. So I'm just gonna put this back out and let it rest. And what we would do is go around the pool. No more dirty than it is right now. We probably wouldn't have to stop if the water line drops below right here. So if your water line gets below the skimmer on either one, then it'll begin to suck air. And at that point you have a problem because you'll cavitate the pump. So you have to turn the pump off, close this valve, and wait for the pool to fill back up. Your fill line is actually right here. This is the overflow. So you want this to be, you want your water to be right up to here. We're about a 1/2 inch low right now because we vacuumed some out. So the other type of vacuuming, like if you need to use the pump to vacuum on a normal day when it's not an opening and it's just leaves or tree dirt, you know, just other stuff, not algae, we're actually going to go back to filter. And then we're going to open our return line because we're actually using the filter. We're vacuuming through the filter. So we're going to turn on our return, turn on the pump. You see the line moving. That says we have pressure. And just for demonstration, we're going to look and make sure that we have suction. We'll pull it through a little bit of this. We'll put some through the filter. And you see that turns white. Now, if you find that if you don't have suction, you basically, so this has suction right now, but if you're pushing stuff around and it's not picking up what you're trying to vacuum, that means you've lost suction somewhere. The most common cause for that is either if there's a lot of leaves, the basket below this skimmer plate, it has too many leaves in the basket, and that's restricting your flow. So you simply take this out, place it in the water so it doesn't get full of air, empty your basket over the fence, and then start over. The other reason is hard to tell. Sometimes it just loses suction. You just shut this down and go back through the process, and oftentimes it will kick back up and actually have suction. Today, we had no problem. You saw we did it 2 different ways and we had suction both times. So I think that's just about it. It's a pretty simple process. We're just going to go on this opening. We're going to go around the walls and make sure we get everything we can so we have a really good clean pool on opening. If you have any questions, just give me a call and let me know what you're experiencing and we'll try to troubleshoot it. Thanks for watching.